Hey, your head's up. Your head's up to this longer podcast. Have you ever felt, I'm not good enough? I can't do this. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve this. And think that it's not positive? Really? Well, I'm going to explain why it is such a positive thing to feel this negative thing, and then how we can change it to feel safe, comfortable, to feel good enough, to feel worthy, to feel that you do deserve this, and to feel you can do this. Now, if that's important, please take the time to have a listen. And there's a little process in this too. Again, something to help you really do something simple, easy, but is really effective. Okay, have a listen after this.
Hello, and I'm here by duty and honour of my country to warn you you're entering into the personal space of Personal Development Unplugged, and it may seriously, yes, seriously, make your life so much better. Thank you.
Hey, welcome back to the longer podcast. And have you ever felt this? And I've got an idea that I know the answer. I'm not good enough. Have you ever felt that belief? And it's really weird that you can feel beliefs, but you just feel, I'm not good enough. You might even say it with that internal voice in your head. Or something like, I'm not worthy, which is a weird thing to say in this day and age, but we do say that to ourselves. I hear it so many times in my clinic with my clients. Or maybe there's another side of that. I don't deserve this. I can't do this. And you see, I think we can all relate to that. And to these limiting beliefs, because that's what they are. They're just limiting beliefs, but they have an emotion. And it doesn't feel good. And to be honest, it stinks, doesn't it? They stink. And it doesn't happen all the time, I know. It's not a continuous belief, but just sometimes this thing comes and gets us. And I think if you look back over time, it's probably grown. And I'm going to tell you why shortly. You see, these limiting beliefs are positive. And you're going to say, Clavi, how can a limiting belief be positive? Now, how can they? Well, I'm going to tell you they're positive because they give you protection. And you're going to go, Cluffy, how can a limiting belief that makes me feel like I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it, they don't feel good. So how can that protect me? There you go. I'm going to tell you. You see, let's just take that I'm not good enough. You see, if you have this belief of I'm not good enough, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to do one of two things. One is you're either going to prepare like hell. Prepare for that thing that you feel you're not good enough for. And you prepare and you prepare. And you basically, you know, if you prepare well enough, then you're going to succeed. But the unfortunate thing is when it grows and grows, you get into overwhelm. You get fearful because you keep thinking about that thing that if you do fail because you're not good enough. And the more you prepare, the more sometimes that intensifies that fear and anxiety. Does that relate? And you see, that also adds into the emotions that come like from that, such as guilt, sadness. You've got the anxiety and fear. Maybe fear of failure, fear of embarrassment. Had them so many times. Me personally, and also with my clients. I think we can all relate to that. You know what it feels like. And it just doesn't work anymore, does it? You see, but that protects you. The other option you have is, well, because I don't feel good enough, because I'm not worthy, because I don't deserve this, because I can't do this, guess what I'm going to do? I'm not going to prepare. Because I just know it's not worth it. So you're going to give up. You're going to give up on that one thing that could be the difference. But you give up. And then when you give up and you don't do it, what do you feel? Same bloody emotions, isn't it? Sadness, guilt, fear of what happens again in the future, anxious because you know other people. It might affect other people. It might affect your job, your career, your relationships. But it's a positive thing, by the way. Now, I don't think I've convinced you of that. But it is. If you just take the logic of it, it sort of works. And because it sort of works, your unconscious mind keeps doing it. Because I think sometimes we haven't educated it enough to find a better way. But you see, let me explain. Let me explain just a little bit how I think this has happened. You see, I think sometime in your past, generally, I think it's recognized that within the first 7 years of our life, we experience things that aren't quite, sometimes they might give us a bit of anxiety, they might give us a little bit, it's only a tiny little bit of fear, tiny little bit of anxiety, tiny little bit of sadness, tiny negative emotions. And our unconscious mind says, do you know what? I don't want this for them. So I'm going to protect them. So if anything happens like this again, I'm going to give them this little belief that I'm sort of not good enough. I give you that little bit of emotion around that. Maybe I'll give you that little belief that maybe you can't do this. Because you'll either prepare and succeed, or you won't do it. And because it's only small, it doesn't really hurt that much. And you don't do it, so you don't get that embarrassment. You don't get that sadness. You don't get all that grief about what you were frightened of. But the thing is, it doesn't stop there. Because that was just one small time. But your unconscious mind goes, oh, here comes another event, just like the one we had before. But it's a bit bigger now. So I'm going to increase that feeling, increase that thought about you're not good enough, increase you're not worthy, can't do this, I don't deserve this. And you get that slightly more deeper emotion, more intense, I guess is the word, more intense emotion. And you either prepare and succeed, but it was a little bit harder this time because it was not quite overwhelming because you did it, or you definitely didn't do it, but you started to feel that little bit of grief, a little bit of sadness. And what happens again, I think, your unconscious mind keeps doing this a little bit more, but also, and this is the thing, it generalizes this type of behavior because something else comes along and it goes, well, this event coming along is not the same as those other ones, but it's similar. And if it's similar, I'm going to do the same thing. So where you were having an issue with one small type of event, now over time, it expands and expands and expands. So more and more different events which are only similar, not the same, you tend to feel, I'm not good enough. Don't deserve this. I can't do this. And the thing is, it gets more and more intense because it has to get more and more intense because you might just push through it. And if you just push through it, you might not be safe. So the presupposition in NLP, which are just useful assumptions, every behavior has a positive intention. So the positive intention is, I'm trying to keep you safe. But in doing that, your unconscious mind doesn't realize the conflict that it's setting. Because all the time it's trying to make you be safe in all different contexts now, not just that bloody one, but all of them. It's generalized into all different areas of your life. It doesn't make you feel safe. And there's a conflict. I'm trying to make you feel safe, to keep you safe, and the one thing I'm doing is not doing that. It feels unsafe. So you've got a direct conflict going on now. And the thing is, because it starts so small, we didn't realize it. We only realize it when it gets bigger and starts affecting all areas of our life. Now, if it's really big and it is affecting all areas of your life, you know I always say, go and see a therapist. And I know that's the thing that everyone says, oh, go and see a therapist. But go and see a therapist to get it sorted. One-to-one. And I'm banging my head, or banging the drum rather. Go and see a brilliant hypnotist who has NLP master prac at NLP, master prac at timeline therapy, a master hypnotist. You get those 3 qualities. And that anxiety, that feeling of I'm not good enough, that feeling of I'm not worthy, don't deserve this, I can't do this, will disappear really, really quickly. Don't talk about years of therapy. We've talked about that so many times. But get it done. Because you see, when I do this, when I do it in therapy, I get the unconscious mind to learn from that root cause. That one small thing, remember, that one small thing. If you can learn from that small thing and take away the emotion, because it's learned from that event now, and it doesn't need the emotion of I'm not good enough, not worthy, and all the behaviors attached to that, and the emotions attached to that, because it's learned. It's noticed a conflict. And when it notices a conflict, learning from the root cause and says, do you know what? Because it's not working, and I have to keep you safe. It's one of the prime directives of your unconscious mind. It has to keep you bloody safe. Then it has to find a better way. And that's where the therapy comes in. The hypnosis, working with your unconscious mind to go through all the resources you have now. Because you've got massive resources. Back then, when you were ickle, boy or girl, you had little experience. You had very little wisdom. So your unconscious mind could only do what it could do with the wisdom and experiences you had. But unfortunately, over this period of time, when it's generalized into all different stuff, it hasn't accessed and realized you have so much more. Life's experiences, all your learnings, all your wonderful values and beliefs that you've developed, the positive ones, the really good ones. So we help it to keep that protection. And here's the thing, in doing that, the one thing we're not doing, which a lot of therapists forget, is we don't take away that positive intention. We don't say to your unconscious mind, oh, just do this. No, we say, keep the intention to keep this person safe, to keep you safe. But find a better way. Now, I hope that makes sense. But the thing is, you might be saying, well, great, Cluffy, but it's not that big at the moment. You know, sometimes I don't feel good enough. It's not affecting my whole life, but it is not just in one area of my life, but maybe a couple of little bits. But it's a smaller thing. So I'm going to go through smaller things which will certainly help you if you do go to one-to-one therapy. But this is something you can do for yourself, because I like to give you options and I like to give you processes. You know that. So this is for like mild anxiety, a little bit of worry, things that just repeat a little bit. And so we want to break that down. Break it down into a simple process. And if you think about it, just if you were to think about that issue, that problem that's giving you the feeling and the negative belief of I'm not good enough, I don't deserve it, can't do it, I'm not worthy, not good enough, all that stuff. Just think and we're not going to go to the root cause, but just imagine it was a younger you when it probably started, and you were very ickle, as I said. What do you think you would have missed? What resources and skills and beliefs and values didn't you have? And there'll be a mass of them. So maybe too overwhelming to think, well, I can't think of all the things that my younger you needed. So let's just hone that down into something more simple then. So we go to the other side of the issue. Well, I know in the issue, I don't feel good enough. I have this emotion, maybe a little bit of fear, maybe a little bit of, I've had some guilt and sadness and all that stuff. So how would I like to feel? How would I like to behave? And what would I believe instead? And we're going to make this up, sort of make it up. Because you're going to imagine. But when you imagine, it's coming from you. It's not coming from anybody else. So think to yourself, just for the moment, if I was to go through that type of event and be the way I want to be, achieve what I want to achieve, be able to go through it feeling comfortable, maybe just top three emotions would I need to have. And it could be just calmness. We've done it before, calmness, being comfortable, aware. Maybe it's a little bit of excitement. Maybe it's curious. Maybe it's connection. That feeling of connecting, being connected. Being able to think of the behaviours. Maybe I want to behave in a way that I can just access the information I want. Or maybe I can act as if I'm calm, collected. Think about that. Just 3 emotions, maybe a couple of behaviours. I want to just be able to use my body smoothly and effortlessly. And what belief would you have about yourself? If you were to go through that event really successfully, maybe it's a belief of, I believe in myself. I'm okay. I've got this. So you've got an idea now. So we haven't gone back to the root cause and tried to go through all the emotions that younger you didn't have. Because I guarantee you now, those 3 emotions that younger you didn't have. Those behaviours younger you didn't have. That belief and value your younger you didn't have. But you have them all because you've taken them just by thinking about them. They've come from that wealth of experience and learnings and wisdom that you've achieved and grown and had and accessed through all the years now. So you might want to write those down, but just think about them and then just imagine. Here's the thing. Now, if you've got a little bit of time, and it is going to only be a couple of minutes, and you are able to just sort of close your eyes. You don't have to close your eyes, but if you did, then you could just focus on what you want. Now, just make sure you do not need, it's not hypnosis, by the way, but you do not need to be doing anything at all. Nothing to take your attention. Nothing. Your attention needs to be on you inside, in this imagineering. And it's simple. All I want you to do is this. So if it's okay, nothing's going to take your attention. You can close your eyes. If not, come back to this. You can just listen to it and then come back to it because you're going to have you've had a run through and then you're going to come and do it properly. Just close your eyes and imagine. Imagine a younger you. Just a younger you, maybe between the ages of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that time. That younger you. Maybe they're standing or sitting on a stage just in front of you and below you. And they're just there. Now, some people they have the intuition, the feeling that they have some words they want to say to this younger you. And you could say them right now. Just how much you care for them, how much you thank them. You're so grateful for them trying to do all this thing for you. But now it's your turn. And as you do that, however you want to do it, just imagine sending them those 3 emotions, one at a time. Just imagine beaming them out from your heart to that younger you. Then imagine you could beam out those behaviours that they didn't have, that you have now in abundance, to them. And imagine sending those wonderful values and that one belief, I've got this, it's okay. Sending it to that younger you. And you might even notice that they just change. The vision of them just changes slightly. Maybe they'll smile. Maybe they look at you just, that special way. Because see, you're sending them all the resources that they didn't have back then. Things that they needed back then that you have in abundance. And you might just want to tell them one more thing. And this is the thing I love to send to a younger you. That awareness that it's going to be okay. Because back then they weren't aware that it'd be okay. And then, as you just let them go in because it's only imagination, remember. I want you to imagine going through one of those scenes again now. Having learnt all the learnings you need to learn. Because we're keeping that intention to keep you safe. And now you're even safer. And to know that, I want you to imagine a scene just the way you want it. Imagine in the future that you go through one of those scenes that in the past used to cause you that little bit of fear, a little bit of worry. And see yourself going through it with those skills, with those emotions, with that belief and values. And going through it just the way you want it. And notice how good it feels. You might even notice, if you really thought about it, hey, this feels really safe. Because the thing about it is you only ever feel unsafe. You never, when you feel safe, you're just doing the things you want to do. So you just sometimes have to take a moment and go, do you know what? I feel comfortable. I feel good. You might even say to your unconscious mind, do you realize now? This is even a better way. Keeping the intention. And now we've changed our behaviors, our beliefs, our emotions into a way that works even better, more appropriate. And just imagine in that future, just getting better and better. This or something better. Then open your eyes and boom, and let it go. Let it go, because that's all you need to do. And then just go through. And then when you've gone through one of those events, notice how different you are. You may have to do this a couple of times. You may, as I said, if it's a little bit more deeper than that, you may need one-to-one therapy. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's great to do one-to-one therapy. I love doing it. But the thing is, all we're doing, whether it's in therapy or right now and in the Personal Development Unplugged podcast, all we're doing is educating your unconscious mind. Not this, but this. This is better. Keep your intention and change your behavior to the things that make life great, keep you safe. And when your unconscious mind understands that conflict, not this, but this is better, we've kept the intention, I just believe it just takes it on. Because you have what you need right now. You're just not accessing them. Your unconscious mind is not accessing those resources. And now we're guiding it to those new resources. Now you might say, well, Cluffy, that's really simple. That's really easy. Well, as you know, in simplicity, there is genius. And why make things more difficult than we need to, if there's a simple way? And it's just imagination, but your imagineering is so powerful. It's so powerful when you feel those wonderful, good feelings. You're sending a message to your unconscious mind. This is the way. This is the way. And one of the reasons I thought this was important to start off with is because when you realize that you can do this thing without and let go of having worry, a little bit of fear, a little bit of anxiety, all the big stuff when you see a therapist, you then realize you did it. No therapist did it for you. They are just a guide. They just have the processes that you don't know because they've learned them. But they help to guide you to find what you need to learn and let it go. And you do the work. You just have the will to do whatever it takes. And the will to do whatever it takes is something that you can even apply to all different things in life, like sharing this podcast. If you've got the will to do that. And have fun with sharing this podcast. Feel good about sharing this podcast. Even look back just before you go to sleep and say, oh, I'm so grateful that I feel so good about sharing this podcast. I think I've rammed that enough. But have fun. Do sit down and maybe just think about this even more. And just, even if you don't, we do this process, but just think about the things, how I'd like things to be. If we can get a habit of doing that before we start getting those negative emotions, we start to show our unconscious mind, let's access the skills we've got. Let's change the way we behave and feel and believe into the things that make us feel good, make us feel joy, make us give love, make us, feel safe and create the dreams we want to create our reality, as it were. Because I want to support you in getting each and every dream that you believe, you just dream of. That's what dreams are. They're dreams, and you dream of them. But make them bigger, brighter, and feel that you deserve it. Feel you're good enough to have this. That's what we're on about. Because you can. I'd love to know. I ask this every episode. I'd love to have your feedback to, how did you get on with this little process or what I've shared with you, shown with you? Because by doing that, it helps me to develop even more. It helps me to develop processes maybe and fine-tune them. Because sometimes one thing doesn't quite go in, but then there's just a little bit. We just shave it. We just move it slightly, adapt it, mold it, and boom, we hit the sweet spot. And that's what I want for you. A sweet spot of creating your dreams and living them. Not just dreaming dreams, but creating them in the moment. Living those dreams. And then allowing ourselves to dream bigger and brighter. Bit soppy cluffy, but that's what I want for you. So do email me any feedback. It's feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Hope you really enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Have more fun than you can stand and fly into the now and the present with all that future right now. Confusing, isn't it? Anyway, you go fly.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.